Hello, fellow style explorers. Before we settle into today's Midjourney exploration, let's take a couple of minutes to look at the news. There have been a lot of new models released lately, though not particularly in the world of generative images or video. On the language and development side, OpenAI introduced an ultrafast mode that makes GPT 5.6 Sol work at 14 times the speed, and Google launched Gemini 3.7 Flash for software engineering workflows. Meta is also pitching another reboot of its struggling open model strategy. Even xAI released Grok 4.6 for coding and complex agentic work. I'm a bit skeptical about Grok for some reason, so I haven't been trying it out. But I guess all models have their benefits and their downsides. In the video space, Chinese AI video models are currently dominating the global leaderboards. I have actually been using the Seedance model to animate my avatar, and I am very happy with the results, even though sometimes it does produce some weird glitches. But I guess my workflow is a bit different than just creating random video. I want my avatar to actually speak the script I provide it, and that hasn't been easy to line up perfectly yet. Finally, YouTube just integrated Google's Veo3 for free AI video generation directly into Shorts. Well, let's just go all in on AI-generated content. I mean, there's no going back anymore, and I hope that the quality does improve. Now, let's slow things down and get back to our main focus. Today, I am continuing my steady march through the Midjourney SREF codes. I have actually switched over to Midjourney v8.2 instead of v8.1 for this batch, and already did that for the previous one as well. And we will be exploring the codes from the range 3400 to 3599. The format remains unchanged. I tested 200 codes with random word prompts, and the 50 that grabbed my attention the most made it into this video. Using actual words instead of just a period symbol really helps me see how the style handles real subjects at a relaxed pace. The remaining 150 styles, along with all the prompts I used, are bundled up in a prompt PDF over on my Patreon. A massive thank you to everyone supporting me there. You make these deeper explorations possible. Settings for this run are an aspect ratio of 9:16, Seed 777, and --HD is permanently turned on. So, sit back, take your time, and let's get into the styles. Ornate golden filigree and intricate ink lines weave through vibrant, jewel-toned gradients. Classical engraving meets rich digital colouring in a surreal, dreamlike style. Weathered and raw, these images mimic damaged early 20th century photography. Heavy film grain, sepia tones, and deep scratches leave behind a melancholic, half-forgotten history. Blinding neon pinks, electric greens, and vivid oranges clash against pure, solid black shadows. It's a gritty, high-contrast graphic look, borrowed from psychedelic screen printing. Delicate ink cross-hatching and fine linework meet translucent watercolor washes. Vast expanses of stark white negative space amplify the isolation, punctuated by vibrant red-orange accents. Striking high-contrast ink linework channels a dramatic woodblock print style. Deep blacks and stark whites layer gracefully, broken only by a single radiant pop of warm colour. Crisp, luminous rainbows form perfect arcs against deep azure skies in these hyper-realistic vistas. Soft mist and pristine gradients stretch the calm all the way to the horizon. Frantic charcoal scribbles explode across stark off-white paper, dwarfing tiny solitary silhouettes. The chaotic linework gives those small figures an overwhelming sense of scale and isolation. Crisp ink linework meets vibrant cell-shaded colouring in these graphic novel illustrations. Warm golden yellows contrast with deep teals, and ordinary scenes end up looking carefully staged. Radiant ultraviolet pigments pierce the darkness, washing hyper-realistic textures in electric blues and vibrant purples. The effect is bioluminescent, closer to deep sea life than to paint. Drenched in warm sepia tones and heavy film grain, these visuals carry the moody nostalgia of retro cinema. Soft lighting and shallow focus keep the portraits intimate and close. Quirky, exaggerated figures emerge from painterly textures and scratchy linework. Muted, melancholic backgrounds contrast sharply with vibrant bursts of crimson for a darkly whimsical storybook mood. Swirling, thick impasto brushstrokes bring this dreamlike art to life. Vibrant, fiery oranges and deep, turbulent blues clash and blend in a heated post-impressionist style. Heavy coloured pencil textures and visible strokes give a raw, traditional feel. Deep black shadows sit against dusty reds, muted blues, and flushed, melancholic faces. Flowing contour lines and delicate stippling weave together, shaping surreal, weightless subjects. Striking gold accents pierce the stark black and white palette, bold and elegant at the same time. Dense, intricate ink linework and towering silhouettes build an air of gothic dread. Oppressive murky greens clash violently against intense glowing reds to create overwhelming tension. Bold, chaotic brushstrokes collide with frantic scribbles in a vibrant explosion of primary colours. Raw textures and graphic shapes keep everything loud and neo-expressionist. Thick, expressive brushstrokes carve dynamic forms out of pure, vibrant colour. Saturated rainbow hues swirl and explode against stark white backgrounds, with real force behind them. Deep slate blues contrast with glowing coral spheres in these surreal, minimalist landscapes. Textured gradients and precise geometric alignments keep everything serene and meditative. Deep, velvety shadows dominate the canvas, pierced by dramatic spotlighting. Mimicking classical oil techniques, smooth blends of rich reds and pale creams build a dark, surreal mood. Everything here breaks apart into digital noise. Blistering neon pinks and electric cyans clash through high-contrast glitch manipulations, piling up into a surreal, psychedelic overload. Rich, painterly textures mimic traditional oils, plunging scenes into deep, shadowy darkness. Against these cool blues, intricate light sources burst with intense, fiery reds and glowing ambers. Sharp, precise linework meets soft, watercolour washes in these minimalist compositions. Deep indigos and stark white backgrounds contrast beautifully with sudden, striking pops of crimson red. Bold, jagged ink strokes collide with stark white negative space. Heavy digital brushwork and aggressive chiaroscuro shading make it monumental, brooding, and heavily graphic. Bold black and white geometric lines create intricate, maze-like structures. Striking red accents cut across the stark, flat vector designs for a mysterious, futuristic, almost occult feel. Gritty film grain and expressive paint splatters collide in a retro collage style. Earthy tones and vibrant hues create surreal, dreamlike juxtapositions of organic textures. Bathed in golden, sepia-drenched lighting, heavy film grain and a shallow depth of field bring out the moody, cinematic realism of a vintage dark fantasy epic. Rich, textured brushstrokes blend deep crimson and midnight blue in a striking faux naïf painting technique. Luminous gold leaf accents lift the melancholic, mythic folk art feel. This one goes for hyper-realistic, otherworldly glamour. Iridescent cyan and vivid magenta bounce off intricate metallic scales and shimmering gold accents under dramatic studio lighting. Vibrant cyan and fiery orange clash in dynamic digital illustrations. Fluid, swirling lines blend hyper-realistic portraits with surreal, morphing organic shapes against stark, white backgrounds. Delicate, flowing linework intertwines with ornate botanical borders in a classic Art Nouveau style. Rich golds, fiery oranges, and muted greens wash over vintage lithograph textures. Gritty black inking and heavy cross-hatching anchor these edgy, surreal illustrations. Saturated electric oranges and neon greens dominate these high-contrast graphic novel panels. Deep shadows and heavy film grain collide with glowing streaks of neon orange. It's gritty and cinematic, built on motion blur, fog, and late-night mystery. Deep shadows and stark white highlights collide in this intense, manga-inspired look. Dense cross-hatching creates menacing textures, while vibrant neon accents pierce through the darkness. Heavy black inking and aggressive cross-hatching build a gritty graphic novel style. Muted, desaturated colours and stark contrasts leave a moody, modern comic book feel. Bold black ink lines carve out striking graphic novel illustrations. Intensely saturated teals, crimson reds and golden yellows burst outward over crisp cell shading. Bold white shapes emerge from pitch black voids, carved with rough edges and heavy stippling. It has the tactile look of traditional lino-cut prints, with sparse pastel accents. Bold silkscreen textures and vintage half-tone dots collide in a striking pop art style. Saturated pinks and electric blues pop against stark black shadows for an edgy retro finish. Rough, jagged ink lines carve a stark woodcut out of deep shadows. Glowing amber highlights pierce the murky green darkness for an eerie, high-contrast graphic novel look. Thick, expressive impasto brushstrokes swirl across the canvas, blending vibrant celestial blues with fiery oranges and golden yellows. The paint sits thick enough to catch the light. Playful black ink outlines dance across stark white backgrounds, bursting with intensely vibrant marker-like colours. Spindly lines, quirky dots and wonky shapes create a charmingly naive style. Piercing neon blue slices through pure black backgrounds, forming sharp, minimalist vector silhouettes. The glowing geometric linework keeps it sleek, mysterious, and firmly cyberpunk. Distressed textures and bold black silhouettes mimic traditional woodcut printing against aged parchment backgrounds. Sudden splashes of crimson red heighten the eerie, macabre mood. Swirling ink linework meets luminous gold leaf in this antique, mythic style. Deep indigos and faded rose hues wash over cracked parchment textures like pages from an old manuscript. Sharp, chaotic ink strokes carve brooding figures into aged parchment. Splatters and cryptic geometric drafting marks add a gritty, dark fantasy edge with sparse purple accents. Dense, intricate linework creates surreal patterns in these retro blacklight posters. Fluorescent greens, hot magentas, and blinding oranges pop against stark black for a hallucinogenic buzz. Frantic, scratchy linework builds coarse, textured forms against blazing neon backgrounds. Saturated hot pinks and stark blacks clash to create a raw, punk-inspired look. Vibrant neon colours and heavy, comic-inspired linework collide in a surreal, psychedelic style. Electric greens and fiery magentas do most of the shouting here. Glowing light trails and heavy motion blur dissolve subjects into kinetic, surreal dreams. Radiant golds and crimsons streak across muted teal backgrounds and never quite settle. Intricate black ink linework weaves together surreal, hyper-detailed portraits. Delicate stippling creates depth, merging organic beauty with complex ornamental filigree in a striking monochromatic palette. Loose, scratchy ink lines map out gritty, imaginative designs. Muted slate blues and olive greens blend with warm ochre accents, creating a moody, concept art look. And that wraps up our slow stroll through the $3,400 to $3,599 range in version 8.2. It still surprises me how much the look shifts, even thousands of codes deep into the system. If you want to experiment with the full batch of 200 codes, remember you can grab that prompt PDF over on my Patreon. Your support is what keeps this testing going. Take your time experimenting with these styles, and I will see you in the next exploration.